Welcome to Sonny's, the car wash factory. In conjunction with this training video, please reference each component's owner's manual, available at sonnysdirect.com, before performing any installation, repair, or maintenance procedure. Each manual details specific requirements and settings necessary for the safe operation and maintenance of your car wash equipment.
Hi, welcome to Sonny's, the car wash factory. Today I want to talk about top brushes. The one we're standing in front of right now is a buff and dry top brush, but all of our top brushes today are pretty much the same. They've got the same bearings. They can be hydraulic or electric drive. The counterweight works exactly the same way. The air cylinders that we use for the retract only work exactly the same way. So I'm going to go through some of the special features of the functionality of the top brush itself, and then I'm going to go into a little bit about the actual buff and dry and some of the additional maintenance that goes along with that one there as well, incorporating air dryers and as well the reverse wraparounds to wipe the sides of the vehicle. But right now, let's focus on the top brush itself. The Sonny's top brush is made on a frame that's got 4 legs to it. We're able to mount the tire shine below it, or in the car wash, we're able to mount a tire brush underneath it, depending on where this is being put in the back room. It's available, again, electric drive or hydraulic drive. It can be converted forward or backwards either way. Regardless of what drive we have, we're still going to have rotational bearings on here. These bearings are spinning 365 degrees, upwards of 90 RPMs all day long. So we have, on the electric drive, 1 bearing on this side and 1 bearing on the driver's side. So then they'll need to be greased at least weekly. On the top of the unit, again, we've got a UHMW block up there. On top of that block is a stainless steel plate. On top of that plate in the center is a grease fitting, and there's a hole directly below it, bringing some grease right down to the stainless steel shaft. We've been doing it this way since we built them. I don't think we've replaced one of those bearings yet. And as we always try to do is make equipment that'll last long, have limited maintenance for you folks, and have great reliability in the field to provide a good, clean, dry, shiny car to your customer. That's what's important. So on this one here, in a minute, we'll go ahead and I'll show you where the grease fittings are, and I'll show you how to take care of those there real quick. On the motors, again, we can do this with a Winsmith, a Flender, or a hydraulics. If it's going to be a high voltage site, the Flender motors need to be set to just 460 or just below at 455 volts. They should be VFD driven. Anytime we do electric, we should drive with the VFD. If it's hydraulic, it's driven from a power pack, and we can adjust the speed control. Top brushes like to spin faster than most brushes. We like to spin them up in the 85, 90, even 100 RPM range when we're doing just our Hush Neoglide. We do that by adjusting the speed control on a power pack, or the VFD, as we've shown you many times on the potentiometer there, to adjust the hertz and the VFD to get our speed up. The ratio of the motors on these here, normally in the 16 to 1 or 15 to 1 range, so we can take them up towards of 100 RPMs. In our buff and dry scenario, when we use the VFD, we also spin it faster when it's retracted. That helps it dry. So when it comes down to wipe a car, it'll wipe the vehicle first at about 85 RPMs, maybe 90 RPMs, depending on chain speed. And then as soon as we retract up in the air, we actually increase the speed, and it helps it dry. On the top brush for washing with the Hush material, it's 1 speed all the time. So when it's up or down, it doesn't matter. It's the same speed. To be able to wash the car, it doesn't need to do anything. It doesn't absorb water. It doesn't change. So we're not asking it to do anything more than just clean the vehicle when it's down and washing. Air cylinders on the side. You'll see that as we have them hooked up here, there's only 1 air line hooked up to the bottom. We only use the air cylinder to lift the brush up out of the way or up out of a pickup truck bed. We don't use air for the wash pressure. We use strictly counterweight. Counterweight is mounted up in the very top of the frame, a series of about 10 plates up there that weigh about 60 pounds apiece. So it's a very heavy piece of equipment, but it's fitted out on a stainless steel take-up slide. Keep that lubricated. When you go up there, you won't adjust this on a regular basis. You're going to adjust it once or twice, depending on your chain speed. If you make any big changes, or luckily get to a real busy point in the season where you're going to run your conveyor at the fastest chain speed, you might want to put it a little bit heavier so you can put a little more penetration on the vehicle and wash better. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to show you exactly how to adjust that weight. 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch makes a big difference in the penetration of the brush. Once you adjust it on the wash side or the drying side, there's very little reason to go back and touch it again. So let me grab my grease gun. I'll come over and show you where the grease fittings are. And then after that, we'll go up and play with that counterweight. So now, just a real quick review on the greasing of the bearings. On the electric drive unit, with the Flender, we remove the bearing on this side and replace it with a plate. So we only have 1 bearing to work with. Again, we're going to pop our gun on here. 2 pops in here. Pull it off, degrease. If it was hydraulic drive, we'd have a bearing in the same spot right here. We grease that. On our Winsmith, also sometimes same thing, we'll have 2 bearings here. We've got one more bearing on the other side. This one here is just on the other side of the unit, so I'm going to reach under here, pop on. We're going to give it 2 squirts, and we're going to degrease that as well. I'm going to walk around to the back side so I can go up and grease the top pivot bearing. So we'll pop our gun on here. We'll give this, I'm going to actually give it 3 because this one has not been greased yet, so we'll give it a couple of pumps just to get some grease down there. We'll take that off, give it a wipe clean, make sure nothing's coming out either side. We get a little bit on this side, we'll wipe that clean. And that's going to give that some nice fluid movement. We'll do the same thing on the other side and wipe that one clean. And then we'll go up and we'll take a look at the counterweight. So to adjust the counterweight and make the brush more sensitive or gentle on the car, or to get a little more wash penetration or a little more drying penetration because it's floating on the vehicle and not touching, with enough impact or enough penetration from the fingers, we can easily adjust the counterweight of this brush either backwards away from the brush to make it lighter or forward towards the brush to make it heavier. This brush is balanced. We've washed quite a few cars today. It's really working well. So I'm going to mark over here where you guys can see little black line on the bottom of this unit, and I'm going to move this in a position that would make it lighter. To do that, I've got a 3/4 inch wrench. We've got a couple of nuts here, and we're going to basically loosen these nuts up. We don't need to take them out completely. We just need to back them off a couple of turns. So a little ratchet will work well. Okay, once we do that, I'm going to grab my tape measure. I'm going to measure the distance from my counterweight frame to the back of this unit. And right now I'm at 6 3/8 inches. So I'm going to move it back just a 1/4 inch. Okay? And you'll be able to see that happen as that we can put a little gap between that black ink mark and the unit. So I'll put my wrench back here, I turn it clockwise. And I can simply, a couple of cranks of the wrench, I should be up just about a 1/4 inch. Take my tape measure and check. I'm now at exactly 6 1/8. So I can come back and tighten up my 2 front bolts. We don't need to kill them. They've got lock washers on them, so we just want to hold them in place. Now we would go to the other side. We do the same thing, pull that weight back another 1/4 inch, and then we'd wash a couple of cars and look at how light and how much more gentle the brush is on the vehicle surface. If it's where we want it, we've already locked it in, we're ready to wash cars. If it's not, we can go back and move it a little bit further. If it's too much, we can easily bring it back home again. And that's how easy it is to adjust the counterweight, to really balance this out and dial it in for your wash process and your conveyor speed. Again, remember, RPMs of a brush, conveyor speed, a little bit of counterweight is what makes this brush really work and dial in. Easy to do, takes, as you saw, just a couple of minutes to do it, and you can really change the penetration, the action, and the quality of the cars that are coming out of your wash. So don't be afraid to give it a try. Adjust it to where you believe it's going to work the best for you, and then enjoy the quality of the cars that are coming out of your tunnel. Now I'm going to set this brush back where it was, and then I'm going to come down and we're going to talk about the options that go with the top brush. This is on the buff and dry. We can clean with it. We've got a couple different materials. They install a little bit differently, and I'll go over that with you in just a minute. Let me set this back where it was, and we'll get into the specifics of the brush. A couple things I want to talk about on the top brush in the whole assembly here is how some of the new cloth is. This here is a buff and dry machine, and this material here is our perma-dry material. We import this material from Germany. It's a very unique material. It's a couple layers thick. It's got a lot of different polyesters and polypropylene, so it can absorb the water, hold it within itself so it doesn't give it back up in the car. We run it at a couple different speeds, like I said before, slower to dry the car, faster to dry the material when it's up in the retract position. As you can see in this frame up above, we've got a couple of air dryers on here. We've got an air dryer up top, so when this is retracted all the way up in the air, it'll actually blow air across this material and help to dry it on a busy day, or anytime we want to dry every car as a promotion or a special. On the sides, we also have air dryers that'll dry the wraparounds when they're retracted on the side of the vehicle. It's important that we do things like this here, and especially in the colder climates, this is a buff and dry machine or a buff and shine machine. When a customer buys this in your top package for $15 or $18 or $20, they're expecting a big difference in quality. If we let this material get wet during the day and not stay dry, then they're not going to buy it again. if we give them a really nicely wiped and dried car, they're going to buy it over and over again. We also have our Italian material that we brought the machine out with. It still works very well. The nice part about the two materials is, with this design, we've got a unique single hub design. The spindle here mounts to this is a C-channel material. The C-channel material here, you'll see it's got a belt in it, designed so that the cloth doesn't lay on itself. So when it stops like this here, it's up in the air, and it also helps it dry, get some air. But this spindle, if we want to go to the Italian material, we back out the spindle. The Italian material's got a unique hub on it that we use for our Bison and our Durasoft material. And these rings for the Italian drying material just slide on, and they stack on there as well. And they'll fit on with the same spindles on both sides. So you can drop this brush out, put that brush on, and try it. Occasionally, you need to wash this material because you are putting drying agent on the car. We're following with spot-free rinse. We may not get cars clean 100%. We get dirt and wind blowing in. So the easiest way to clean it is to wet it down, hit it with some simple glass cleaner on it, let it sit a little bit, rinse it again, and then turn it on and let it spin with the dryer on it. If it spins by itself in 6 hours overnight, it'll be dry. If it spins with the blower on it, it'll probably be dry in 3 to 4 hours, ready to go back to work. So that's the way you do these. Again, the blowers, like I said, are on there. The wraparounds work the same way, just like a regular wraparound. The material has to be kept dry, has to be paid attention to wash. You don't want to wipe a car dry that has dirty wheel wells or problems on it, or pickup trucks, because you don't want to get them filthy, rotten, dirty. You only want to wash cars that can be paid for. If this was a washing machine, we have only one material for that, and that's our Hush Brush material with NeoGlide. It's a backwardly curved, large star-type cut, but it looks more like a saw blade. And that material there gives us the quietest and the best cleaning of any material we've ever put on a top brush. It's super quiet, super gentle. People were afraid of top brushes for quite a while. They've been come back in a big resurgence. We've got a couple in some tunnels, 2, sometimes 3 when we had the buff and dry. We like to put a emitter in there with it, because if you want to retract it for some roof rack or a bicycle rack or a bug deflector or a windshield visor, you can retract it, but a emitter can still wash the rest of that car. I just don't want to be left with just a top brush only. So it's important to have multiple top washing materials in there. Then the NeoGlide material Hush Brush is also available in replaceable rings. If you happen to get caught on a roof rack or a trail hitch and you damage a portion of it, you slide off a portion of it and you can replace it real easy and keep it running as good as new. A lot of flexibility with the top brush. Again, electric drive, hydraulic drive, simple controls, bearings that last a really, really long time. Like I said, I'm over 8 years. We haven't replaced any yet. So we're trying to make it so it's pretty bulletproof for you, so you can just keep satisfying your customers. Watch the video, tune up your brushes, don't be afraid, dial them in, get them just the way you want them, and you'll really enjoy the way they work, whether for drying or for washing. Thanks again, and good washing.
Thank you for watching this maintenance overview video. Please visit sonnysdirect.com and review the complete owner's manual before attempting any installation, maintenance, or repair of this component. There you'll learn necessary procedures, settings, and other considerations required for the safe operation of your car wash equipment.